Hey folks, this is Oliver K6OLI, and today we're going to talk about manual geo coordinates in Winlink. If you want to follow along, you will want to go to our Winlink coordinate practice spreadsheet. You will find the link in the description. You click on File, click on Download, and Microsoft Excel. And we're downloading the file here in the background. You can see that Winlink coordinate practice for LAX Northeast. And we can open that from here or find it in our downloads. And we're going to be using this side by side with our Winlink. All right, couple of things. Of course, as some of you may know, Winlink forms take their geolocation from the position report. So today we're not going to talk about GPS. GPS is great if you're on the move or you change locations frequently and you have lots of power available to you. By all means, use GPS. But for most of us in LAX Northeast, we are at a specific place for many, many hours. So you only really need to set it at the beginning of your shift and you should be good to go. And I'll show you today how to do that effectively. Couple of things. As you can see, everything here is turned off. I turned off my GPS. I have a location in here. We'll get to that in a moment. That's my QTH. And I have, if no GPS position, then use the position report location unchecked. We'll check that later, but that's going to be an important part of this presentation. All right. So to give you a couple of examples here, if you have your QTH already set, what I highly recommend is that you take the information and save it in your Winlink coordinate practice for LAX Northeast. So in case we mess anything up, we can go back and copy it. There are two ways of doing that. First way of doing that is if you click on this, and you copy the information out, Control copy. Then we'll put it in my Winlink latitude. That's your latitude field. And there you go. I use unformatted text. We'll go back to our Winlink position report here and get our longitude. Copy, paste that. All right. The other thing we can do to see our location, we click on if no GPS position, use position report location. Let's do that for a moment. We'll turn it off again and click on close. And then we find a message in our inbox, preferably one that is relatively close to our location. And then we can click on this show map of message origin location, left mouse click on that. And you see the green balloon here, that's us. And the blue balloon here, that's the message station. So one of the fun features here is we can actually look at this and you can see my call sign there and then my latitude, longitude. And in this case, it's 34.1285. Let's enter that as well. 34.1285. And let's find our longitude here on the map. 118, 1555 west. So that would be negative 118, 1555. You could enter it as in this case, north with an N in the end. And in this case, as 118.155 west, W. So a W for west, that would work. But the standard, the industry standard is to use negative numbers for anything west of Greenwich. East would be a positive number. The same here. If you're north of the equator, the number would be positive. If you're south of the equator, the number would be negative. And in this case, we leave the coordinate type because we got two different types of coordinates here, but we leave that blank. And we'll return to that. The other thing I recommend is that you get a sense of where the center of your grid square is. And for those of you who are familiar with Winlink, you will know that if you do not enter any information here in your position report, Winlink will force the center of your grid square. So let's check that if no GPS position is checked. We'll uncheck it. We'll close this. Now it should be defaulted to the grid square. Hold on. Let's go back. Make sure the GPS is not turned on and our manual GPS position is turned off. We'll click on close. I'll go back, same message, just to make it easy. And now we can see here my numbers have changed. We'll just enter those so you can see how much they've changed. So 34.1458 north, 34.1458. So right, it was 40 at 30 or 58. There you go. And we've got minus 118, 1250. And again, we're using the proper sign here. It makes it easier to work with computers in general. But you can see clearly these numbers aren't the same. In fact, they're quite different. If you want to check that, you can actually zoom in here and take a look. This puts us, this location, the center of the grid square, is close to Pasadena College. And let's say Sunko Chicken here, right? Just take a look at this map, historic Route 66. And then if we go back and we turn on our default location by checking the manual coordinates and checking that data, zooming in, you can see now we're here by Huntington Hospital. And that's about 2 miles difference here. So if I zoom out here a little bit and we'll find Zanku Chicken again. There's Pasadena City College, center of the grid square is around here. That is quite a distance between those two areas. So just keep that in mind. That's one of the reasons why you want to be effective with this. All right, let's close this. We have a couple of examples here for you to play with, right? So now we've determined our QTH. We can enter that again. We've determined the center of our grid square. That's going to be our error check. Let's go in and add a couple of different formatted coordinates, because Winlink will be able to accept all these coordinates and map those, and there are different reasons for using that. For Aries LX Northeast, the standard will be degree decimals in the proper format. So we always recommend that you use that if you can. However, there are apps on your phone that will give you either the degrees decimal minutes, can make this a little wider here, or degrees minutes seconds. So we want to teach you how you can enter those in Winlink effectively. Some people use MGRS, not very popular in our area, but we're also going to give you an example of entering MGRS. You can enter that as well as a military grid system. All right, so the easy part here is degree decimals. For that, we're looking for Arcadia County Park. We're going to bring up our position report. Put it to the side. Actually, you know what? I'll just make this a little bit smaller so we can have these side by side. Bring up our position report. And you can certainly copy and paste the information. I would say for the first time around, go and enter it manually so get a feel for the data. We've restricted this to 4 decimals. That's more than enough in most cases, but let's enter this. So we've got 34.1378. For the latitude, can tab over, and you see how it changes it into the Winlink default degrees decimal minutes. And the next one is minus 118.0368 minus. All right, and you can see it's 118 again in the degree decimal minutes format. And just to show you that it works with West as well, let's just add it 118. 0.0368 west, and we tab, and we get the same information here, just so you know. All right. The MGRS will not update until you click on close. But before you do that, what you want to do is you want to make sure that if no GPS position, that the manual GPS position checkbox is checked. So let's make sure that that's checked. Click on close, and now we check our work. We can go up again to this button here, and we can zoom in. And now you can see we're in Arcadia County Park, which is quite a bit away here from the Pasadena City College, which is close to the center of our grid square. Now let's double check this. What happens if and we want you to kind of get a feel for this. You want to be able to spot it when you have an error in your data. So go back to your position report and turn off the manual coordinates. Click on close, and that should bring us back to Pasadena City College, right? So if we zoom in there we are, Pasadena City College, but our actual location is over here in Arcadia. So keep that in mind as we proceed. Knowing where the center of your grid square is a great way of showing where your error is, or if you have an error in your data and make corrections. All right. And just to show you what happens when you use the center of the grid square, we'll take this message here and we'll look at the sender here. And what you can see is for this, because I'm in the center of the grid square and Rudy used the center of the grid square, so he didn't set his location at the time, we're actually right on top of one another. So there's several messages here, but we're only shown as one location. Keep that in mind. That's one of the reasons why you want to do it the way we're doing it. All right, let's close this. So we tried Arcadia County Park. Let's go with Descanso Gardens, and we encourage you to do this. Again, this is the proper format, 34 degrees, 12 minutes, 7 seconds north, and 118 degrees, 12 minutes and 35 seconds. No, should be. I'm sorry. Let's do this again. 34 degrees, 12.07 minutes. That's the proper way of pronouncing this. And 118 degrees, 12.35 minutes west. So the way you enter that in Winlink is by 34-12.07 north and 118-12.59 west. So let's go ahead and do that and see where that brings us to Descanso. So 34-12.07 minutes, and that's north. And then we've got 118-12.59 minutes west. We tab. And then remember to double check, you want to use these coordinates now that you've just entered. And we want to use the manual coordinates. So we check this, we click on close. And now we check our work. And here you can see Rudy's message is still at its location, but we've moved up to, is it Descanso Gardens? Yes, it's Descanso Gardens. If you're in a different location, then this is why we're giving you these kinds of landmarks so you can double check. If you, for example, get the north or south incorrect, let's say you typed in south instead of north, we'll close that, we check how it work. You can see we're not here in this area anymore, so we need to zoom out quite a bit. And now we're here in the South Pacific. All right, so it's a good idea to actually mess that up on purpose and play with it. We call that aiming off, especially when you get started. Enter a couple of data points wrong to get a feel for where you are. So you're not accidentally sending messages when you that you believe are correct, but they're actually erroneous. So again, here we go. Got our north, close. Are we back in our location? Yes, we are. Descanso Gardens. All right. Let's go with the next example here. We'll give you different parks so you can actually see this. This is 34 degrees, 5 minutes, 25 seconds, and 118 degrees. They don't need the negative here. 118 degrees, 11 minutes, 38 seconds west. And we enter that with dashes. So let's do that. Bring up our position report. And so we're at 34-05-25 north. And we are at 118 11 38 west, right? That's what we want to enter. We have our manual coordinate checked. Click close. And what we want to see close by is Debs Park, right? Ernest Debs Regional Park. So let's go and check with any message. Doesn't matter which message it is. Just go in here and there you go. We're at Ernest Debs Regional Park. So we entered the location correctly. And we could always double check by copying the latitude and longitude in decimal degrees. All right. Lastly, I'm going to show you MGRS and how to enter those. In this case, I'm not going to do that by hand. But if you do know where the location is supposed to be, by all means, go ahead and do that by hand. I'm going to right mouse click and copy. And now we're going back into our system here. We're going to, and just going to delete the information here. We're going to paste it. Click on Use MGRS, and you can see how it changed our information in the latitude, longitude. Click on Close. And now we check. This should bring us close to the Islip Saddle day use area in the Angeles National Forest. And let's see. And there we go. Islip Saddle day use area. So we entered the MGRS correctly. Now, for most of us in LAX Northeast, the way to do this is to actually have a list of commonly used locations. So in my case, it would be Huntington Hospital, Arcadia County Park, different hospitals, my QTH, and Islip Saddle if you're working AC 100, could be field day site, up at the art center. All of those are options. So the best way of doing that, I think, is if you have a form like this, just a basic notepad with name, latitude, longitude, what 3 words, and street address. That gives you all the addresses you need. You can also use, if you prefer that, let me just copy this. Make some locations for yourself here, a spreadsheet, same information. I'll just paste the information in here, and you see, because it was tab delimited, it pastes over really nicely. Can make this wider if we need to, right? And then save that and have it on your computer or on a USB stick, and you can copy and paste that information as needed. So that's a really solid way of doing that, making sure that you have fewer errors in your locations. All right, so we showed you this. We showed you the little trick. By the way, you can do the same thing if you have messages received. You can check your location up here too. Let's take the Winlink check-in, for example. I just want to display the map. So every change I make, we're still up here. Every change you make should be reflected in this. And if you forget or if you accidentally turn off the manual coordinates, then now you know, go and check this here, display map. Now you know, whoops, this is the center of my grid square. I probably do not want to be here if I'm located here in the forest. So just keep that in mind, know where the center of your grid square is, and don't use it if you can avoid it at all. We do prefer that you give us your actual location for exercises if you're at Arcadia County Park, at your assigned hospital, always better that way. All right. So let's go back. For those of you who would like to, we've got an exercise and you're welcome to do that. And here are the instructions. We've got a couple of sides, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. And what you're going to do is you're going to enter the information in the proper format, right? Here we've got degrees, decimal minutes of 47 degrees, 37.22 minutes, and 122 degrees, 20.95 minutes west. So this is north, this is west. Here we've got south and we've got east for the degrees, minutes, and seconds and MGRS. Then find what's at that location, right? We've given you extra fields here if you want to translate the information in the proper Winlink format and write it down before you enter it. You're welcome to do that. And then you can send an email with a subject line 2025 coordinate exercise dash your call. In my case would be K6OLI. And then give us Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and whatever the landmark is close to that. So that's a little test for you. You can send that in. Feel free, that's part of the exercise, and you email that to K6OLI and LAX Northeast. All right, that's all I got for you today. I hope this was a fun exercise. If you have questions, we've got meetings coming up, so join us for those. Thank you so much. This is K6OLI 73, folks.